Hey guys, it's Dom and welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I typically make bookish content, travel content, and miscellaneous collection content. And today is going to be bookish content because I am rereading Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. This is a series I've been doing, rereading the Hunger Games trilogy to prepare for the prequel. The thing is, I have not read this trilogy in 9 years. I was a freshman in high school. I am no longer a freshman in high school. I am almost 23 years old. So this will be the first time in 9 years that I'm rereading this. And not only that, but I think I mentioned this in the other vlogs that you can go check out, by the way. I'll link those two down below. The difference between the first two books and Mockingjay is that the first two books I at least remembered stuff from. Mockingjay, I remember almost nothing. There's a few details I remember. Like I remember like the smallest shit, like Octavia and a certain line she said. And I remember who dies at the end, and I still have not forgiven Suzanne Collins for it. So, ooh, can't wait to revisit that. Without further ado, I'm gonna go make some coffee, and I'm gonna light a candle and get reading. Y'all, I finished chapter 1, and what the fuck? I don't remember it being this sad. I knew it was gonna be sad, but like, not crying. I had tears streaming down my face. It was a lot to take in. So it's been a month since the Court of Quell ended, since Katniss did her thing. Katniss goes to District 12 because that was the only way she would cooperate with anyone else. She still doesn't trust Plutarch, whatever. And she's describing her surroundings, like bombs went off, killed 90% of the population, and so only 800 people survived. And even like District 12's elite, hardly any of them survived, like the rich people. And she's describing the dead bodies around her, like people were incinerated completely. Now some got away from the fire, so they're just decomposing in the most grotesque positions, and they're ready for all the vultures and crap, and flies are everywhere. She found a cat. She found Prim's cat. It's so sad. She doesn't know what happened to Madge. I thought Madge died. Like, I thought it was explicitly said that Madge didn't make it. But she says she hasn't heard a word about Madge and her family. So I think, considering Madge doesn't have another, like, important part of the series, I think we can assume she died. Peeta's family didn't make it, so that's really fucking sad. His parents are dead. His 2 older brothers died. Gale's family made it, though. And then so did Prim and Katniss's mom, so that's a good thing. And Prim's cat, I guess, is a good thing. Her goat didn't survive. It's a lot. And Gale saved the 800 people by taking them to the meadow and then to like the lake where Katniss's father used to take her. I have no words for how sad I was reading this chapter. It was a lot to take in. So we're 3 chapters in, 50 pages in, and I have some things to say, the usual. So the only exciting thing that happened in chapter 2 is that Peeta did an interview in front of Panam, and Caesar Flickerman interviewed him, and he's asking for a ceasefire. Katniss and Gale were the only ones that caught on that he was probably forced to say that by President Snow because he's trying to keep Katniss alive still. So chapter 3 is where I'm starting to get suspicious of District 13. I'm high-key suspicious of President Coin, and some of the stuff about her is coming back to me. I do remember, and even this is kind of vague, because like apparently this is a spoiler, I guess, but apparently at the end Katniss kills President Coin, but I didn't remember that going into these movies, so I was high-key confused. District 13 is just as controlling as the Capitol, which Katniss actually remarks, because they have very, very strict schedules tattooed on their arms that can't be washed away until shower time, which is also an assigned time, and they have assigned bedtimes, they have assigned rooms, they have assigned tables at meals. That's really weird. And then President Coin just like doesn't smile, and she's like too perfect. And I'm like, bitch, you're fucking Snow. So Katniss decides she wants to be the Mockingjay after seeing what happened to Peeta. And she has a few things. She basically has like ultimatums, and she tells everyone that they have to pardon Peeta, and people like they don't want this. But the other thing that made me like high-key suspicious of Coin was when Katniss said to pardon Johanna and Enobaria as well, because they were taken to the Capitol with Peeta. And Coin said no. President Coin said, oh no, they'll be tried as war criminals and their punishment will be how the tribunal sees fit. Like, what did they do? And Katniss tells her, like, it's not their fault you didn't rescue them in time. So it's like, now you're gonna try them as war criminals because of your fuck up. They didn't even do anything. Like, they're not on TV, so they're probably just in some dungeon being tortured, and that's a crime? So I'm high-key suspicious of President Coin. District 13 kind of freaks me out because it just reads like Katniss escaped from Panam and entered another Panam. which is probably the point. Alright, I read a total of 6 chapters tonight. I am so tired. It's 2:30 in the morning. It's slow going. I'm not gonna lie. Like, a lot of the reviews on Goodreads were like, this is a page turner, and I'm like, not fucking really. Not that it's bad. It's just, it's so much info to take in. What's her face? Coin kind of made an enemy out of Katniss. Katniss is the only one who believes that, and everyone else is like, no, Katniss, like, she's just taking control. Katniss is still super suspicious of District 13, and so am I. It's really fucking shady. Haymitch is back in action. She decides she likes Boggs, who's, I guess, like, the security guard for Coin. The prep team's here. I forgot to add that. They stole a piece of bread, and they got the shit beat out of them for it, so this is, like, Les Miserables over here.
Stole a loaf of bread.
I have a special place in my heart for Octavia. I feel so fucking bad for her. She's apparently my age. Did not know that. And I just feel so bad for her because she's so scared of Katniss now because she kind of just associates Katniss with everyone else in District 13, the poor thing. Venia is still as strong as ever. Flavius is just kind of there. Like, his name pops up, but he doesn't say shit. I mean, the prep team, like, Gale even pointed out, he's like, you know, they're typical people from the Capitol. They watched your slaughter, everyone's slaughter for entertainment. Katniss is trying to stick up for them. And Katniss brings up that they were raised that way and they have no other way of knowing, and you know, I kind of have to feel for them. Like, I'm angry they set up kids for slaughter, but at the same time it's like, what else do they know? Every district is on the rebel side except District 2. They are still on the Capitol side because the Capitol gives them a life of luxury. That's all I gotta say. I have no analysis 3 other than that District 13 is really fucking shady. I don't know why Katniss is the only one that sees it, but it's foreshadowing, I guess, so. Before I start reading, I just want to tell you guys about the dream I had last night. So last night's dream, I was in the Hunger Games, but it must have been some other, like, book universe, because it was a quarter quell, but it combined the 50th with the 75th, so, like, not only were 4 tributes picked from each district, but it was from already reaped victors. But I was still in District 12. And so were, like, people I knew from high school and college. Like, they all showed up. And then my uncle was one of the reaped victors of Victor 12, so that was really weird. And it was nice, I guess. Like, we were dropped off in a meadow, but we didn't have to rise up in those weird elevator things onto the platform. Like, they actually, like, gave us time to talk to everyone and say our final goodbyes. And I remember, like, okay, so the girl who played Clove in the movie was in the stream. So I guess Clove won in some universe. And I remember turning to her and telling her, like, I'm about to shit my pants. And then I remember thinking, oh no, I don't die because I'm alive in Mockingjay, so clearly I survive. What? So that happened. Cedar, as you know, I was very upset in the last vlog that Cedar died. We hardly saw her, but for some reason I was so upset. Showed up in the stream. Turns out she was one of my mentors. Why was she a District 12 mentor when she's District 11? I don't know. But then I'm on my way to the platform, the countdown's about to begin, then I wake up, so I don't actually know what happened. So I only had 3 chapters left before I got to the end of part 1, but I wanted to update now, 2 chapters in, just because so much happened. She went to District 8, met people at the hospital who were so excited to see her, and that I actually cried at these descriptions, just for the Capitol to come and blow up everything. They didn't even know she was there. So that's when she says the iconic line, if we burn, you burn with us, that I remember from the movie, so I didn't know that was taken straight from the book. I guess I could have just guessed that. That was a chapter I completely forgot happened, so I'm reading this, like, crying. And then next, she's in the hospital, so they watch the video footage that they all put together, and then her and Finnick witness PETA going on TV, and he looks very haggard, and he's begging her to stop. He's like, you're trusting the wrong people, they're weaponizing you, which kind of got me thinking, because I'm so high-key suspicious of District 13 and Coin, and I don't know if it's because I know of Coin's outcome, or I just know how to read between the lines better, but I was thinking about that. She refused to be a part of the Capitol's games, so she's kind of just a part of District 13's games. You know, and Finnick even tells her, he's like, don't tell them that we saw PETA. And it's a good thing, because Plutarch and Fulvia came in, and it was clear that's what they were going to ask of her, but they made it obvious they never watched it. So therefore no one brought up PETA, because everyone's like freaking out now, because now he's even more of a traitor than he was before. And I feel really bad for Finnick right now, because I think my interpretation of him begging Katniss not to bring up PETA was just that if she brings up PETA, everyone's going to say he's even more of a traitor. And if he's more of a traitor, that means the other victors that Katniss tried saving, so Johanna and Abaria and Annie. That means if they do have to indict Peeta, they have to indict those three, so Annie was probably who Finnick was saving in that moment, now that I'm thinking about it, so that's my interpretation. Y'all, if you're wondering how bad my memory actually is when it comes to this book, I thought the movie wrote this song. I had no idea they grabbed it directly from the book. This is pulling things out of my deep, darkest memories. I used to listen to this all the time. We're going back to the days of when Pandora was popular because this was on the Lana Del Rey playlist. I still hear the melody in my head. Whew, okay, so it's over. Part 1 is over. So they're back in District 13 and they're watching on-live footage, and BT has disrupted the Capitol's footage where Snow and Peeta are talking, and Peeta's once again asking for a ceasefire. And then it just ends with BT being able to interrupt him and then Snow freaking out. Camera falls and you can see Peeta's blood just splatter everywhere, and that's it. That's literally how it ends. So I did think about the Hanging Tree lyrics. The part where she said strange things had happened here means like all the enslavement and the atrocities that happened to the citizens. So by meeting up with her dead lover and dying with him, it's almost saying it can't be any worse. And it also it's saying that by choosing, if you choose to come with me and we die, you do it on your terms and not, you're not controlled by anyone. That's kind of my interpretation, because they do use it as like a battle song almost, so that's where I'm getting that interpretation from. All I have to say is that Prim is growing up. She's the one who points out to Katniss that they can't kill Peeta because then President Snow will have no one else that she loves. And then she's reminded of Johanna, blah blah blah, bombs are still going off. Batteries charged, some things I want to discuss. So, after the bombing, Katniss had to go see the actual footage outside and answer questions, but then she started crying about Peeta because she realized what Snow was using him for. And then they just sedate her, which I've noticed a lot in this book, and I'm kind of disturbed by it. Whenever she's just simply crying, I wouldn't say she was going ballistic or anything. She was just sobbing, because I would sob in that situation too. Whenever she cries, they just sedate her, which doesn't really sit right with me. But whatever, it just seems like something the Capitol would do. But whatever, she calms down, her and Finnick go back up, and she shares the story of how her and Peeta met. But the tea was what Finnick was saying. So I totally forgot about this, but because of how attractive he was, President Snow used Finnick's body against him. He forced Finnick to sell his body in order to save people he loved. Also, can we talk about the fact Finnick won at 14? So President Snow was selling the body of a minor? I mean, no matter the victor, since all victors are under the age of 18, they would have been a minor. So, I mean, it's I can't compare, because no matter the age, it's wrong. But just 14 years old. But then Finnick said that in exchange he would get secrets from people. President Snow would kill people with poison. Actual tea. And it's is this a low-key spoiler for the Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes? Finally, the title makes sense. Songbirds always made sense to me, but it was the snakes part. But then Katniss says poison, just like a snake would use. The actual tea. And pedophilia was involved. Incest was involved, apparently. What? But then the rescue mission works. Johanna's back. Annie is back. That scene was really cute where Annie and Finnick reunite. Peeta's back. And Abaria is not, but she's from District 2, so they're not too worried about her. I really hate to say this, but I was laughing during Katniss and Peeta's reunion just because of how kind of awkward it was. You think it's going to be so lovey-dovey because Katniss is I outstretched my arms to embrace him. His were outstretched. I was screaming his name in love just for Peeta to start strangling her. And, I really shouldn't laugh. That's not funny. But it was just... The description, the strangling is just not what you were expecting. And I was oh my god. This is really awkward. Right now they're discussing what happened to Peeta. He was hijacked with tracker venom. So all of his memories of Katniss were basically replaced with really scary ones. Katniss is in the hospital. She finds out what Beetee and Gale were doing. They're creating bombs. And again, with these the name dropping that Suzanne Collins does in the early books. So in the first book, when they come across the Avix that Katniss recognizes, it's illegal for her to basically recognize the Avix. So Peeta derailed it by mentioning, oh no, that's Deli Cartwright. And then I totally forgot the name existed because Deli's not important until now. Turns out she survived, and they're gonna use her to help Peeta see if she could trigger some childhood memories. the name dropping. She name dropped Deli, she name dropped Johanna. I want to know if she does this on purpose, because in my own writing when I was younger, I used to write a lot. I'm not much of a writer anymore, but when I was younger, I would like make up names, but then when I would write later books, I'd be like, oh, it'd be really cool if I would just like take that name and expand upon it. Like, it wasn't planned, like, at all. It was just like one of those, like, oh, this would be so cool if I did that thing, and then I would write it in such a way where it seemed planned. So I want to know if Suzanne Collins is doing it on purpose or if she's doing what, like, I just described. Oh, I just want to say Portia, who was Peeta's stylist, and his prep team were murdered on live TV, and I want to riot in their names. I don't know the names of the prep team, but I'm still going to riot for them. And I don't know what happened to Effie Trinket. I don't remember what happened to Effie Trinket, so I hope it's not, like, the last of her. Kind of like with Madge in the beginning, where Katniss was like, yeah, we've never heard from Madge's family, and that's it. Madge is never mentioned again. We get no solace whether or not she's alive. We could probably rightfully assume she's not alive, but still, I would like it to be explicitly said. But whatever, Suzanne Collins likes to, you know, pull at my heartstrings, so fine. I guess. I'm past page 200, but Gale wants to kill everyone that's in the mountain of District 2. I have mixed feelings just because I feel like it's not much better than what the Capitol was doing to everyone. And can I just say again, this chapter also included how, like, Gale, when his crush on Katniss started, and it is so forced. I don't like it. The romance with Gale is just so unneeded. I hate it. It's so, oh my god, it's so fucking forced. Like, Gale, go talk to someone else. You're not meant for Katniss. Get that through your head. I'm tired of it. Okay, it's 90 degrees outside, so the air is blasting. It's going to be really loud, and I apologize for that, so I'm trying to project my voice here because I don't know how the camera's going to pick it up. So I made that analysis about, like, what Gale wants to do is kind of makes him just as bad as the Capitol. And of course, after I made that analysis, Katniss just repeats it 2 pages later. Like, literally every time I make an analysis about something in this book, Katniss just makes the same analysis later. So am I Katniss? Am I Katniss? Or is Suzanne Collins just over-explaining things? So yeah, she gets shot, the huge. But then she, like, remembers what Peeta said to her in the last book when she's like, hey, don't let go. And he says, always.
Always.
Is this Harry Potter? So she's outside with Flirtarch now, and they're walking around. District 2 is on their side. They have all the districts on their side, so now they have to somehow get to the capital and overtake them. But we learned that the word Panam means bread. Her country is literally named Bread. Seeing how important bread is throughout this trilogy, like, it makes sense now. Okay, so we read about Annie and Finnick's wedding, and I couldn't stop smiling because it was so fucking cute. I love them so much. Katniss went to see Peeta. Peeta now views her as Katniss, like, kind of views herself as, like, violent and manipulative, like, because she really does look down upon herself, and it's not really explicitly said until that scene, and I feel for her. I feel so bad for her. But her and Johanna are in training because they want to go to the Capitol, and they're currently having lunch with Finnick, Annie, Gale, and Deli, and Peeta comes, and it's at the very beginning, so I don't know what else is going to happen, but Johanna, I'm just commenting on what this bitch says. Well, she passed a seat next to her, and then she says, we're very good friends. Peeta and I had adjoining cells in the Capitol. We're very familiar with each other's screams. So nonchalantly. Like, this girl, I swear, I, like, hate and love Johanna because I hate her because she's so unnecessarily mean and obnoxious, but then I love her for her like one-liners like that. She was given squad number 451, and she is with Boggs, my homeboy Boggs, which I want to talk about. He's, like, kind of a father figure for her. That's how I view him, and I just think it's so interesting that she always has a father figure with her, and that's very, very important considering what happened and how close she was to her actual father. But, like, when she was in the first games and then in Catching Fire, her father figure was Cinna. At least that's how I viewed him to be. Like, she always has one with her, and I would argue Haymitch is kind of a father figure as well. I have finished part 2 of this novel, and it's like they're going back to the arena because there's, like, pods of atrocities and every which way here in the Capitol. And Flirtarch even admitted that he made some of them, but can't really, like, fault him for that. But, y'all, even when she's not in the literal Hunger Games, she happens to be in an arena in every single book. And her and Finnick even said, like, ladies and gentlemen, let the 76 Hunger Games begin. But this time, President Snow is also a player. Then they go to the Capitol, and they're just kind of sitting around. One of the sharpshooters, League 2, was killed, so they send in someone else. And it's Peeta. tea. President Coin sent him, and Katniss is like, ooh, I'm better for her dead than alive. I think giving Peeta a gun right now in his current state is a really fucking stupid decision, but whatever. I don't live in this world, so who cares what I think? I decided to read outside because it's only 75 degrees today, and it's the coldest it will be for a while because the next week is supposed to be in the 80s, and then it's going to be in the 90s. So I might as well enjoy the weather, and it's sunny today. It's been raining for the past few weeks, and it's going to keep raining. Yeah, and my dog is here. And that bug. My suspicions about President Coin have been confirmed. I was not vibing with this woman. And yeah, she sent Peeta over to Katniss because she wants Peeta to kill Katniss, and everyone knows this. Like, it's not just in Katniss' head. Like, even Boggs agrees with her. So fuck Coin, she's just as bad as Snow. And now they're playing the real or not real game, which I'm remembering upon reading, and I was wondering what happened to the Avoxes. They were both arrested since they were the servants for Katniss and Peeta, and Peeta watched them be tortured to death, so that's really sad. I don't know, like, the girl had the special place in my heart since she was first introduced. I feel so bad for her. And now Boggs stepped on a bomb, so his legs were blown off. What a time, truly. I got to page 300, so I've decided I should just go inside and eat dinner now. It's a lot of info dumping. This book is kind of dragging. It's just a shame because I like the first two so much, and I still like this one. But right now they have a grace period because I almost said President Trump, wow, because President Snow believes that they are dead. Literally all I have to say is that the Capitol is reminding me more and more of the Dr. Seuss book. With these descriptions, for some reason I'm kind of just reminded of Seussland, or I think that's what it's called, Seussland and Universal. Or just a Dr. Seuss book in general. That's how I imagine the Capitol, like pink and orange pavement, the blue fluffy sofas, straight out of Dr. Seuss, I swear. I just want to say, chapter 22, despite being a page-turner, is sad. Finnick is dead, and so is my heart. I knew this was coming, and I'm still upset, and I feel so bad because what about Annie? So they're currently hiding out in the cellar, just the 5 survivors, and it's like the store of a woman named Tigress, and I really hope they included her in the movie because, and like, she looks the way she's described, because she's basically described to look like a cat, and it just looks really cool in my head. Yeah, so they're trying to figure out how they're going to infiltrate President Snow's mansion, and Peeta and Gale have a very, like, Twilighty conversation. Like, it reminded me of the conversation in Eclipse between Jacob and Edward, right down to the point that the girl is eavesdropping. Like, Bella eavesdrops and pretends to sleep during Jacob and Edward's conversation. Katniss is pretending to sleep and eavesdropping on Gale and Peeta. Both conversations about who the girl's gonna pick. The one thing I cannot stand about the Hunger Games is this love triangle. It is so forced. She could have done this whole trilogy without this fucking love triangle. Also, I'm just realizing some of the soldiers in this are basically children. Like, Katniss and Peeta aren't 18 yet, but they're soldiers. Literally children. I'm just realizing they had the Mockingjay be a child, like a child soldier. Like, she's 17, but like, that's still a child nonetheless. The chapter I just finished is one of the saddest, I think, in the whole trilogy. Katniss and company are trying to infiltrate the Capitol, but like sneakily. But then there's attacks at every side, pods are going off, and it's just that this chapter, I think, is like the most realistic to war compared to like anything else from the books, just because while the rebels and peacekeepers are fighting, the citizens, the unarmed citizens that have done nothing are dying. And you can't put 100% of the blame on either side, because it does have to do with both the peacekeepers and the rebels. Unarmed citizens are just trying to find safety, but then these pods are going off, killing so many of them, which happens in war. It's just, war should be just the two armies, like theoretically, just the two armies fighting against each other. But most of the time, that's not what happened. That's not what happens. A lot of innocent civilians get caught in the crossfire and die, which is what was happening here, and it was just so sad. And there's a little girl with the lemon-colored coat that Katniss she accidentally made eye contact with the girl, and she watched the girl's mom die, and she watched the girl die. It reminded me of the girl in the red coat in Schindler's List, like the same concept almost. If you've seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about. Also, the other part that's very, very realistic to war is when she makes it to the mansion, but there's this barricade, and in the barricade's all these capital children, because they're being used for Snow's protection, because, you know, who wants to attack children? And you see that in real life war. In wars in the real world, children are often used as weapons because no one wants to shoot a kid, so they take advantage of that. And we're at the part where I still have not forgiven Suzanne Collins for this, but the parachutes come and the kids are very, very excited, but then they go off because they're bombs. And because it's a hovercraft with the capital seal, I'm assuming it's the Capitol that did it.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
And it's not, her name's not said, but she has a blonde braid and a ducktail, and her and Katniss say each other's names when they see each other, but then the rest of the bombs go off. I was so upset when I first read this book, and I'm still upset now. Y'all. Fuck. Okay, so it's after the bombing, and Katniss is hanging out in Snow's mansion. She finds Snow in prison there, so they're having a conversation. Kind of one-sided because Snow's doing all the talking. It wasn't the Capitol that did the bombing that killed all those children in Prim. Like, it was Coin. I should have seen that coming because I've been suspicious of her this whole fucking time. But, like, to literally have it said to you that she is just as bad as Snow, I have no words. Like, Snow even said, like, she wanted to rise, she wanted his spot, like, all this time. Like, she just wanted to be the next Snow. So it's like, how are you any better than the man you're trying to get rid of? She killed all those children to get what she wants. So my point still stands that, like, that chapter was very, very realistic to real life because people in war always use children to, like, get what they want. And it makes the situation even worse. Like, I knew she was an asshole, but I, like, forgot about this whole, like, side plot going on. I'm a fool. Like, imagine, like, being Katniss and you're fighting this war for someone just to find out that, like, she just wanted to be the next Snow. Like, maybe under her rule there would be no Hunger Games.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
But I bet you the districts would be treated like shit still. But alas, it's 3:45 in the morning, so I'm gonna go to bed and we're gonna finish this book tomorrow. I'm so y'all, I'm pissed. Ooh, I fucking hate that bitch. Woo, okay, so I finished a chapter, and I officially have one left, but I just wanted to talk about something. We don't know for sure if it was Gale and Beedee's bomb that killed Prim and all the other children. Katniss clearly can't forgive Gale either way. And then all the remaining victors were in a room. There's only 7 left, because the other victors were all killed off. Like, either the Capitol killed who they thought were rebels, or the rebels killed who they thought were Capitol apologists, basically. All the prep teams from the Court of Quell were killed. All the stylists were killed. So many people were killed. But then they had to vote whether or not to do another Hunger Games, but with the Capitol's children. And I'm really, really shocked that Katniss voted yes. Because I'm with Peeta here. Peeta was screaming how it's like, it's the whole thing, it's the whole reason they started the rebellion. Like, it's what they were fighting to stop. So, in my opinion, by having this Hunger Games makes them just as bad as the regime they were trying to, you know, destroy. But she wants to do it for her sister, so... I mean, she's clearly traumatized, so there's, like, so much we have to take into account here when talking about her opinion on this whole thing, but still. So then she had to try to kill Snow, and then she did the thing that I forgot actually happened, where instead of Snow, the last arrow of the war killed off Coin, because she finally realized that Coin is just as bad as Snow. So the next chapter, I have no idea how the last, because there's one more chapter and then an epilogue. I remember how the epilogue ends, but I don't remember the last chapter. So this is going to be new to me, because I completely forgot she killed off President Coin until, like, the very beginning of this reread. So it's going to be a lot. So I finished. My memories did get mixed up. Turns out I did not remember the epilogue, and I was confusing bits of the last chapter to be the epilogue. I don't know how I feel right now. So like the last chapter itself actually made me cry, but I was just kind of upset that Katniss never got to speak for herself to tell everyone why she killed Coin. So she just got off the hook by her doctor pleading insanity for her, and she was sent back to 12. So was Haymitch and Peeta. I thought her, like, the depression she was in, I thought that was really well written. Like, I felt I was in that spot too. Like, I just felt that sense of dread and sadness she felt. And considering everything she went through, I feel like that's a very realistic outcome for her. And then PETA planting the Prim roses, and then how, you know, she picked herself up after a while and they began to make a Book of the Dead, and just I'm tearing up thinking about it. Like, just the description. I was literally doing one of these things and like sniffling, wiping my tears while reading about that, like the descriptions of Rue and Boggs, Finnick, and just like the ending of that chapter, how she describes how her and PETA got closer again, and like the love, like how she doesn't need Gale because he has a fire of hatred within him. She already has that fire. She needs the dandelion that like snuffs it out, which is PETA. And like, it's a love I want. Like, that feeling, like, I have this fire within me and I want, you know, my soulmate, whoever that is, to be the sunset that snuffs it out, and like vice versa for each other. But I have very mixed emotions about the epilogue. Like, it was needed, but the way she wrote it, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. Her and PETA have kids who aren't named, so I thought that was an interesting choice, because to me it feels like by not naming them, Katniss is distancing herself from the kids, and like she like almost doesn't love them like kids, if that makes sense. I don't know whether or not if was Suzanne Collins' intention. That's just the vibe I got. And like, they say too, like, all the arenas have been destroyed and there's memorials in place, which I, you know, respect. Her son doesn't know about the Hunger Games, but the daughter does. She knows PETA and Katniss had a role in them. And the one line that just like sent chills down my spine is because they're in the meadow right now and they bring back the song that Katniss sings to Rue in the first book. And she says, like, my kids don't know they're playing on top of a graveyard. Like, ooh, that was chills. And the last paragraph was just how she was telling them, she's saying, like, she's gonna one day have to explain the nightmares. And a game she's been doing for herself to make her calm down was, like, name all the goodness she saw in her life. And then the book ends with, but there are more dangerous games to play. I'm confused how Suzanne Collins wanted us to feel. It's a peaceful ending, but I'm also depressed at the same time. Like, I'm weary. Like, there's part of me that's really anxious because I feel like something bad's about to happen. Like, it's a warning. The last paragraph just wasn't matching the rest of the epilogue. Like, the rest of the epilogue read like it was going to be like this peaceful roundabout story, but then the last line read as a warning. Yeah, I guess that was the point. Like, but there are more dangerous games to play, like warning to us all, like, to not get to this point. I don't know. I have mixed emotions about it. I kind of want to cry, but the tears aren't coming. So before I do like a final analysis of my thoughts, I'm going to sit on it for a while and then I'll meet back with you guys. Okay, so it's been a few hours. So this book as a whole, I am giving it 4 out of 5 stars because I remember this being my least favorite of the trilogy. Like, it's not bad by any means, and like, it's still great in its own way. It's just not great as in a 5 out of 5 star read. One of the first things I noticed about this book was the amount of new characters. People were constantly being introduced to us. Maybe she did it to like set the scene, but there was just so many people to remember. Dalton from District 10, the way he was introduced, I'm like, oh yeah, he's important later on. He'll be in like the squad that we see later. He never was, so it's like, what was the point of introducing him? I'm really upset that she introduced Bonnie and Twill in Catching Fire and then they were killed off. Like, they weren't in this book. They didn't make it to District 13, which I can't even like fault Suzanne Collins for, because that is supposed to show the reality of situations like this. Not everyone's going to make it, which I guess, and like, that's the point of introducing all these characters, like all the people in her squad, like Jackson, the 2 Leagues, Mitchell and Holmes, just to kill them all off really, really fast, because that's what happens in war. Like, you're constantly meeting new people because the old people died. So I get it. It was just a lot to remember, and like, damn, holy crap. When it comes to these characters, not everyone had a satisfying arc. Like, after all the tributes were in that room, like the last 7 surviving tributes were in that room. We don't know what happened to Johanna, what happened to Beatty. I mean, yeah, he went back to District 3, but like, still. And Obaria, we know nothing. She was kind of like pointless. I'm kind of wondering why Suzanne Collins bothered to keep her alive right now, which is really mean to say, but like, plot-wise. You killed off everyone else, so why isn't Obaria still alive? Which is another thing that I was thinking about, because remember how angry I was about all these people were dying just for like the 6 to survive the Court of Quell. I guess it's a good thing they died, because it turns out the Capitol ended up gathering the rest of the surviving victors and killed them all. So that really fucking sucks. Like, they played your game and because you don't like the outcome of someone else's game, you have to kill off everyone. I hate these things, but it's also like it's kind of a sign of good writing, because like it's reality. Like, that's what happens. And then speaking of what happened to characters, what happened to Fulvia, who was Plutarch's second in command? Like, after she made the suggestion of like making those little videos about the past tributes, like Rue and all that, like, we never heard of her again. There's a lot of dumb cliffhangers in this book too. And I say dumb because a lot of chapters would end on cliffhangers that were like, oh, I have to keep reading, but then like you read the next chapter and it's a really soft blow. But on to some other stuff. So I remember, like, I made that comment about Madge, how like we never hear about her, we never get, like, it's never explicitly said to us what actually happened to her. But it is in the last chapter. Katniss goes to the mayor's house, and then someone's there, one of like Gale's ex-partners is there, and he says that the whole family was found, no one made it, which is really, really sad considering how like important Madge was to this whole thing. Like, Katniss is the symbol of the Mockingjay because that's based off a pin that Madge gave her. So it's really sad. There's the importance of Prim's death. So I just found out that a Prim rose is a type of flower that actually blooms really, really quickly but then dies quickly. So I thought that was actually it like parallels her character a lot, because Prim grew up way too fast. Like, here she is at 13 with an adult job, which is going onto the front lines in combat and being a medic. Like, no 13-year-old should be doing that. Which is one of the reasons Katniss was so mad, because she asked herself, like, why is a 13-year-old in combat? Which is another reason why she killed Coin, which leads me to my next point. They made a huge deal about Katniss having that one arrow in her sheath because it's supposed to be symbolic of, like, the last shot of the war, the shot that ends the war, the shot that ends tyranny. And notice who it went to. It went to Coin, because Katniss was the only fucking one, and Boggs, arguably, but Katniss, at the end, out of all the people alive, was the only one who noticed that Coin was just as bad as Snow. And it still, like, angers me that no one got to hear her side. Like, is it obvious to me just because we're reading this in Katniss's point of view? Like, would it be obvious if I was reading it in, like, Gale's or Peeta's or Haymitch's? I don't know, man. Like, it was really shady how District 13 was being ran, which I guess that's also why Katniss and Gale kind of, their friendship was just done at the end of the book. At least that's how I interpret it. I feel like their friendship was kind of just done at the end of the book. Because, one, we don't know for sure if it was Gale's bomb that dropped on Prim and those children. But also, he was in like full support of Coin throughout the whole book. Like, if Katniss voiced a concern, he basically told Katniss, hey, like, don't worry about it. That's not what's actually happening. And I just want to talk more about that epilogue, because just the way it was written. Me and my friend, I was texting my friend because she remembered more about the book than I do, so she was really excited for me to read the end. And then she was saying how the epilogue leaves her really, really empty. Like, she was expecting more, but then I kind of come to the realization that maybe the epilogue is well written and it's not supposed to make you happy. It's that last line that gets me. Just reading that makes me feel weary and like I should be looking over my shoulder. The image I'm getting in my head is kind of like, it's Katniss breaking the fourth wall. And I'm not just saying that because this is told in first person. Like, I'm actually, like, imagine this is a movie and her back is to us and she's watching her children, but then she's like breaking the fourth wall with that last line. And I kind of just picture her like looking back over her shoulder at us and then saying, but there are worse games to play. So to me, it's like, it's her warning us. Like, she went through all of this so that we won't have to. Also, I have some thoughts on why, like, the animal of the series is the Mockingjay. But I noticed that the Mockingjay was an animal created by accident. Katniss was created by the Capitol, if you think about it, by accident. So the Capitol forced her to play their games, but because of that move with the berries, they created this revolutionary by accident. This book kind of scares me. Like, I'm thinking about the epilogue and just how that was such a, it was just a punch in the gut type of warning. Like, please don't go through what I went through. I don't want you to go through what I went through. I feel heavy. Like, I don't feel happy. Like, the last chapter, the ending of the last chapter made me feel really happy, but then now that we have Katniss's warning, I'm like, ooh, like, I kind of feel threatened. I kind of feel a little threatened. I don't think I have anything else to say. I'm going to be reading the prequel next. It will not be a vlog. I think I'm just going to read it and then sit down and do a review or a discussion of some sort, or then I will make the videos of me watching the movies. So the Hunger Games YouTube video series of Dom P is Here is not done yet. So we theoretically have 5 more videos, but rereading this trilogy was a punch in the gut and it hit me in the heart. Oh my god, Finnick and Annie had a son. Anyway, I'm gonna go. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, the typical jargon, and I will see you guys in my next video. Ciao a tutti!